All
All
right.
right.
Hello.
Hey, we're live. Okay. So we're journeying further into doing live content. Hopefully this will be a little more successful than last night. We learned a lesson. So we're working on this. We appreciate your patience with us. And we're just trying to get this going. Oh yeah. So our topic tonight is we wanted to talk about what we think the ramifications of the global health crisis are on the 2020 U.S. presidential primary race. We're specifically talking about coronavirus. We're specifically talking about COVID-19. I think COVID-19 is the more technical term.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, I have lots. But
Oh,
I
you know
think we
what?
wanted
Yes, that's
to.
right. Yeah, we gotta want to put the stakes in the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah, so go right. So go right ahead.
As a disclaimer, we wanted to say that our hearts go out to anyone who is seriously affected by COVID-19. Particularly anyone who has or knows someone who has it. That is particularly tragic and something we would like to be especially sensitive of. But I think it's come to a point where a lot of us have been impacted in other ways and know that we share in some small part of that struggle, but still we would like to address this in a sensitive way, but still a political way. So if we are at all insensitive in that, please do let us know.
Absolutely,
Yep.
yeah. So, and also, we very much encourage any questions you have. We're very interested in if you guys have any questions. And also, we'd even be interested in any comments you would like to make. We'll jump in and maybe respond to those as well.
Absolutely.
So first of all, I think I'll jump in and I just want to talk about the magnitude. The magnitude of this, I think, is clearly more significant than anyone expected. The magnitude, what really set into to me today is later this week. By the end of this week, from what I've heard, you won't be able to see a movie in America. I don't think it's
Yeah.
going anywhere. So uh, that has never happened in my lifetime. I recently turned 50 years old, and never in my entire life has there been like since I could talk, I could even between like 5 and 11, I could say to my parents, "Hey, let's go to the movies." And once I was like 11, I could ride my bicycle, and then I could drive myself. I have never not been able to go to the movies. That had a massive change in my life.
Yeah, and that's a big one for you in particular,
Yeah.
a movie buff, and yeah, especially as we are all home together as a family. Going to the movies is something we love to do, and is something that we can't do. I think the CDC recommends against groups of 50 or
Right.
larger meeting
Exactly.
together,
Yeah.
which is usually what a movie is. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's pretty deep. So the magnitude is absolutely massive. We talked about this a little yesterday, but I really think millennials have had a rough time of it, where everybody's like, "Oh, your avocado toast," and the people really looked at you guys and thought of you guys as kind of like a soft generation. I'm not sure anything's happened in 2 centuries that like is as alarming as this, without the exception of maybe World War II. And even the World War II was kind of a little bit of a spectator event for America. Like there were never, I don't think there was a single boot on the ground in America. Is that right? There wasn't a single boot on the ground in World War II.
Well, I won't go as far to compare it to any wars, but you do get the sense that this is a historical event. Like
Yeah,
I will,
without a doubt.
if I have kids, they will know about
Right.
this. It'll be
Like,
in history books.
Yeah,
Like,
and you would tell your kid like you.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So
it's really wild. Yeah.
yeah, and you really do get that sense. I want to be particularly sensitive. However, this is a connection I've heard multiple people make in recent times, but because of the historical magnitude of it and just the effect of it, the connection to 9/11, actually, both with the fear,
Yeah.
the economic
Oh, yeah.
repercussions of it, because yes, the sheer magnitude of it, the I think the most recent times was that. So I think we do. It is comparable to other tragedies people have expressed, but it is unique in that this is it's global, it's health related, but it is scary, and it's I think it will be interesting generationally,
Yes,
seeing
definitely.
how this struggle compares to ones maybe you more clearly remember.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also we've been talking about how this has been impacting us, but we'd love to hear what your experience is through it. Like, are you surrounded by people who are really helping each other? Is this pulling your communities together? Are you seeing people becoming, more socially distanced than even the socially distancing platform is? So please let us know what your experience is. We'd love to hear that in the comments below. But yeah, this is truly massive, right? So let's turn it to the politics, right?
Yes.
How do you think this is going to change the 2020 U.S. presidential primary race?
It's big. It definitely will
Yeah.
change it. I think that all politicians, we're trying to address this in a very sensitive way. All politicians definitely need to
Oh
do
yeah,
that.
definitely.
And I think they also need to realize every aspect of what's going on here, because at its face, this is a health crisis. The social distancing is for our physical health, and I think it is good for our physical health. What also needs to be addressed politically is, while it will better our physical health, it can is honestly, for a lot of people, is going to damage their emotional, financial,
Oh, without
mental,
a doubt. Yeah.
health.
Yeah. Oh.
And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and that's part of what they were getting at the debate last night. They did want to talk about the finances behind it and the experience of real people who are losing
Yeah.
jobs and maybe estranged from friends and families. And it's a lot of hardship that you wouldn't typically think of for a health crisis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think?
Well, one thing is that I'm really amazed about is that basically I think Bernie and Biden both. Boy, I don't want to say this is. It's hard to say this was good for them, but man, did they make out like bandits off this. The timing was incredible. They swept the board of everybody but one person, and there they stand alone. And now there's only three groups of politicians in America in the U.S. 2020 primary candidate. You got susceptibles. That's Bernie and Biden. They are more susceptible to literally the problem they're trying to solve, and like America's going to need to wrap them in a bubble, because they. It's the first time where I think America's going to need to think about protecting its leader more than the leader thinking about protecting America. I think we're getting there. Two, a huge group of quitters, right? Who all quit, folded to challenge or folded literally to Joe Biden. And then last is the one standing titan of them all, uh, Tulsi Gabbard. And while the rest of the world, while the traditional media is ignoring her, I can't get out of my head that she is the strongest, grittiest, most tenacious survivor in all of this. Like, just a little bit of delegate loss was enough to push every single candidate off the board except Tulsi, right? And so here you have Biden and Bernie standing as winners, where if only 3 weeks had passed, I don't think anybody would have dropped, because it would have been a whole new ball game. That's my take. What do
Very
you
true.
think? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's very good to say. It's strange to think of the two people on that stage the other day as susceptibles, but that truly is what they are. And yesterday I mentioned that Bernie had a bit of an "I told you so" with the healthcare.
Yep.
If we had healthcare, maybe this would have been better. I think the real "I told you so" is we can bring it back to Yang. In all of this social distancing, a lot of jobs are lost, a lot of change is happening, but everything is going digital and virtual.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they talked a lot about the most vulnerable people losing their jobs and whatnot. But in the same way Bernie and Biden are this may be a good
Yeah.
turn for them. The tech savvy are thriving,
Yeah.
and it would have really been
Oh my gosh, yeah.
incredible to see Andrew Yang in a position to like really head this. Okay, so we need to stay healthy. Let's take everything virtual,
Yeah.
and this is America now. But unfortunately, we have two people who look like the least tech savvy people on earth. But I won't say they are. They have mentioned
It's possible, yeah.
taken like rallies digital and whatnot. But I'm sure that's with a ton of help. Again, it would have been nicer to see younger, more what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, just people who can. They're literally people who can remember and were alive when computers weren't even literally a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you've never spent a day, I don't think, even not knowing what a mobile phone was. You know what I mean? Whereas both of these candidates, they remember punch cards, like and Rolodexes, like
Yeah.
the idea that somebody who used a Rolodex is now in charge of our digital path through,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But let's say that might, in a way, let me raise the
Yeah,
question
yeah.
if that's a pro. Like, one of the things I've been thinking of is while I'm having all these like virtual meetings and phone calls with people is that it's honestly almost a blessing that this happened now. If this happened like 100,000 years ago, or well, it has. We've had like plagues that just wipe out people, but we have the technology to socially distance ourselves and still like go about life, and that is so while it would have been nice to have someone who was like proficient and raised in that, I think it does take a bit of remembering to realize how unique that is, and realize that it's not the end of the world, and it could have been, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah,
Absolutely. I think this is truly incredible, and I think so. One, this has hit the 2020 U.S. presidential primary Democrat primary race like a hammer, and that's incredible. So I see KT said that KT remembers when there weren't computers, and KT is 47. So and that's So that, but actually,
not
even Yang was younger than that. He was like 45, 44.
Yeah, and I believe the
so was
lowest
Buttigieg.
cutoff is 35. So 35-year-olds probably still remember Rolodexes and whatnot. And that's so thank you for bringing that up. But it's we're still in an age and a debate where it truly does seem like age matters, and the 77 is quite the age. But as I said, it's good to have a time of remembering when we couldn't do live streams and social like working from home remotely is something that I think is has preserved a lot of jobs, so for viewers who remember that, that's why I almost had it as a pro. Like you're in the same boat as definitely Sanders and Biden. Maybe I wouldn't say Pete Buttigieg probably also does, but he was definitely on the younger end of the spectrum. Yeah.
Also, I did want to just say a quick thank you to KT.
Yeah, thank you.
I've done over 1,500 videos on YouTube, and this is the first time I've ever had a live interaction on YouTube on my own channel. Yeah. So thank you very much, KT.
Very fun.
That was really, you got the ball rolling. Thank you, and it was very helpful. And the reality is, I think this is one of the things. I think the biggest thing is, I think every single candidate has to be kicking themselves because they dropped. If they had just stayed in for one more month, it would have completely changed. I want to ask you something. All right. So one, I'm going to say my take, and I'm curious what your take is. I'm so down with Andrew Yang, but Tulsi all the way. And the reason why is no suspenders. Right? Suspenders are for dorks. And everybody suspended their campaign, right? And now they're all going to be like, I'm unsuspending my campaign, right? And the reality is, Tulsi, it didn't matter if something was coming up. She just doesn't quit, right? And I don't like half of her policies. I was never a Tulsi person. But you know what I am? I'm for fighters. And Tulsi is the only fighter in the bunch. And the reason why is she was literally a fighter. She was a U.S. soldier. And you really shouldn't fight anybody if you're 78 or 79 years old, right? So and you can't call yourself a fighter if you quit, right? So no suspenders, no quitters, right? I like Yang's policies 1,000 times better than Tulsi's. But if you quit, I'm going to put a fighter in front of you, period. What's your take?
That's fair, and I do somewhat agree that suspending your campaign is code for I quit, I lost, I'm out of this. Yeah. And I wanted to ask for suspending the campaign. The one we were both surprised by this, but Amy Klobuchar. And particularly what made me think of her is throughout the entire campaign, she bragged about how much she had won and how little she had lost. But I think this political jargon is, so do you think I think if she comes back in or even runs in 2024 and gives the same spiel of, I've never lost
that's nonsense. She lost.
Yeah. So
that's ridiculous.
That was my question. You would consider
you
those
lost.
Suspended
Yeah, without a doubt. You can't. You lost you lost the right to say I didn't lose. The one thing I think is really big is this coming suspenders coming back. I can see it now, man. I really feel that some suspenders are going to try to come back, and I'm really against it. And the reason why is, if America entertains it, America is co-signing that nonsense, and I really feel it's very important that if you couldn't finish a campaign, why on earth should anybody think you're going to finish a project like fixing a global health crisis? Yeah. So, one of the things too is we're about to go through some of the most dramatic, most drastic cultural changes that America has ever seen. Right? Well, here's one. I'm not sure the handshake will ever return. Ever. Right? I don't think, in December, I don't think you'll be able to shake anybody's hand. It'll just be culturally dead. Do you think that's true or untrue?
That's fair and likely true. And
because it was already starting to die, right?
Something I've noticed, and particularly the people that would typically go for handshakes are older. So
younger people don't really do handshakes that much. They do fist bumps, right? Exactly.
So that's the thing. I think part of it is just that, the much younger people aren't in the workforce and don't have to greet each other professionally. But also, I think there is more of an awareness of germs and whatnot, and that even started beforehand and was go away, and it is very likely that it may go away completely in the wake of the of COVID-19. I could definitely see that. Yeah,
absolutely. So we got another one here. It says, what are my thoughts specifically on the coronavirus? Should we be afraid? You should absolutely not be afraid. I would really encourage you to have trust that America as a nation is going to be able to find a path forward through this. I'm very confident in that. I'm not personally afraid. I'm an evangelical Christian. It works out for me either way it goes, right? So I kind of got a little trick up my sleeve there. But actually, I would say this: if you ain't opened the good book lately, it might be a good time. It definitely might be a good time for it. It's absolutely a good time for that. So if you don't have my particular view of the afterlife, you definitely should be looking at the good book. Beyond that, I would definitely say that we should not be frightened. And one of the reasons why is right here where I'm at, incredible safety. There's been, the worst things happen is people are hoarding tissue paper. So I think it's a good thing overall. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I wanna share something in particular that has given me like a little moment that gave me a lot of hope recently. So one thing, absolutely listen to WHO and the CDC. But
I totally agree.
yeah. But there's so many things that they don't restrict that a lot of people don't think to do. Something that we've been doing as a family is trying to go out for walks since it's spring. It's beautiful, and we're still allowed to go outside. And we live in the suburbs, so that's not like over 50 people.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And particularly, we walked to the park. And my little siblings got on the seesaw and just had a fun few minutes. I got a picture of it. And that picture, they're literally both laughing, both on the seesaw. And one thing he said as he came home, it was like, oh, they're 6 or whatever feet apart, social distancing. But and it just.
But they had huge
that's,
smiles. Yeah, exactly.
It was just a literal picture of how we can be in community and in joy and
Amen.
in nature, in the midst of social distancing and a health crisis. And I completely understand those who are scared. It is scary, but I'd also really encourage you to go out of your way to look for hope in the midst of all of this, because it's there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Don't fear. This is America. It's still the best place in the world to live. I'm praying for you. Fear is almost never the correct response. It is if there's a bear coming at you and you're unarmed and barefoot. Other than that, no reason to fear, right? And so we really want to thank you so much for your patience with us learning this live streaming. Thank you for the great questions today. And we really appreciate all of you taking a moment with us. Thank you very much. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.
Hi, Jesse.